This is the second video in my series on Crouton. In the first video, I showed the basic ways Crouton can be used in a website. In this video, I'd like to take a step back and talk about the installation and initial setup of Crouton under WordPress. Crouton can be used on other frameworks, but WordPress is still the most common framework for NA websites, and it's the only framework for which we have an administrative or back-end interface where Crouton can be configured. This video might not be so relevant if you're not using WordPress, but some of the configuration options I will discuss are relevant wherever Crouton is running. I'm starting from the WordPress dashboard. We go to Plugins. Select Add Plugin, and then search for Crouton. Click Install. And Activate. Now that it's activated, Item Meeting Lists appears in my WordPress menu. Some of you will also have our plugin Bread activated on your site. Bread is the plugin that can produce a PDF of your meeting list. I plan on doing some videos on Bread soon. For now, I just want to show that if Bread is active, the meeting lists item won't go directly to Crouton, but will be a submenu. I've activated Bread. Now, when I mouse over the meeting lists item, I can select either printable meeting lists, that's Bread, or online meeting lists, that's Crouton. Let's select that and start configuring Crouton. The first thing I have to do is enter the URL of the bmlt server where the meetings are maintained. I'm assuming you know yours. For this demo, I'm going to use our German server. I can hit enter, and if the address is correct, Crouton will display the version number in green, here. It will also go out and read the service bodies defined on our server. This allows me to select the ones I want from this list here. I can select however many I want. I can also remove the ones I selected previously. I'm going to select the service body for the entire region. I want to make sure that this checkbox is on. This tells the server to get all the meetings from all the areas that belong to this region. Otherwise, Crouton will list only those meetings that are attached to this region directly. Now I'm going to save this configuration. There. That's actually all I really need to do. Any page with a Crouton shortcode would already work. From here on out, everything is just fine-tuning. So I think it's a good time to step back and look at how Crouton's configuration page is organized. The page is broken up into 5 tabs. We're already on the first one, where we define the query that determines which meetings will be on our meeting list. The second is where we can customize the user interface. Everything from color schemes to which buttons and filters appear in the header. The third is where we can customize the map. For instance, we can decide if OpenStreetMap or Google or some other service should be used. In the fourth tab, we can set the contents of the Crouton table as well as the pop-up meeting details windows. This allows us to add things to the table that are not in the default configuration because they are not always relevant. Things like nearby subway stations or bus stops. In the fifth tab, we can customize the button labels and other strings that appear in our display. This is especially relevant for non-English websites because the provided translations are sometimes problematic. With that as our roadmap for the rest of the video, let's look at some of the things we can do. We can fine-tune our query a bit by adding some extra meetings. I have to enable this feature before using it. For performance reasons, it's turned off by default. I need to save for this to take effect. This is where I can add a few meetings from another service body that are maybe just over the border separating service bodies or which for some reason we want to appear on our list but don't match our query. I can select the meetings I want from this drop-down. Since the list may be too long to scroll through, I can find the meetings I want by searching for its name. If I want even more control over the query, I can write my own query from scratch using this custom query field. The query has to be written in the form expected by the bmlt server. Since this is a quite advanced topic, I won't cover it here. Let's move on and see how we can adjust the user interface. The first item, Theme, allows us to select from a list of predefined color schemes or skins. You can try them out and select the one that best fits with your website's design. If you want even more control and are familiar with CSS, there's a place to add your own CSS towards the bottom of the page. The next item determines the placement of the map when the bmlt_tabs shortcode is used. I demonstrated the options available in the first video of this series. To summarize, the map can be placed either above the meeting list, or you can switch between viewing the meeting list and the map. The third option is to not have a map at all. This is where I can select the language used for days of the week and the other texts that appear in the table, including the descriptions of meeting formats. I can also control how meeting times are displayed. The default is a 12-hour clock with AM and PM, but I can also have a 24-hour clock. I can set my preference for if distances should be measured in miles or kilometers. This next section controls the header, the buttons and drop-down that appear above the meeting list itself. I can choose not to have a header at all. I can choose whether or not to have tabs for each day of the week. I can choose if I want to offer to sort the meeting list by city or by weekday or by distance, and which one of those should be the grouping that we start off with. And here I select with filters or drop-downs I want. When I click here, I get a list of all available filters, and I just choose which ones I want or don't want. The next tab is the Map tab. The main thing I can do here is choose which provider will be used when generating the map. By default, we use OpenStreetMap, but you can also choose to use Google Maps or any other provider. For Google Maps, you will be asked to provide an API key. You can obtain one from their developer console. Again, links in the description. You can also choose which service will be used when looking up the name of a city or getting the coordinates of a street address. Sometimes the system needs a few hints. If you look up Paris, for instance, the system needs to know if you mean Paris, France or Paris, Texas. This section is where we can provide such hints. If you remember, the map display represented meeting locations as markers with NA symbols on them. And when I clicked on a marker, I got the details of the meeting. But if there were many meetings bunched together, it showed a different symbol with the number of meetings there on it. And when I clicked that symbol, the map zoomed in on that area. That sort of behavior fits when the map is showing a large area when the map is zoomed out. This field allows us to set the zoom level at which we switch from clusters to markers. Now we come to customizing the contents of the meeting list. Crouton uses templates, which means that you can write a piece of HTML and say which properties of the meeting you want to insert where. Crouton uses handlebars.js as our template engine. I'll provide a link in the description. All of the templates are empty initially, which means that the default values will be used. The advantage of using the default here is that the defaults update automatically when new features are added. We don't want to overwrite any user customization, so if you've customized a template, you won't see any new features unless you modify the customization yourself. Let's say I do want to customize the location information by adding the bus line information to it. When customizing, you usually want to start with the default, so I can load the default by clicking this button. And then I just add the field in where I want, enclosing it in 2 curly brackets, which is what identifies it as dynamic text to the template engine. You can get the list of available fields by clicking on this button. There's much more you can do. If I can, I will upload a video on Crouton templates. That brings us to the final tab, the Translations tab. Here you can select a language and download a CSV file of the translations for that language. Let me open the file so you can see its contents. The first column is sort of an identifier for the string. The second is the English text that would be used, and the third is the translation into the selected language. You can edit the file and then go back to the Translation tab and upload it. The edited translations will be used from then on. Okay, we've now gone through Crouton's configuration page. In the next video, I'll give more details about Crouton's shortcodes, and we'll unlock even more of the power and flexibility that Crouton offers. As always, feel free to contact us if you need any help with anything in the BMLT toolbox. Thanks for watching. Have a great 24 hours.